Just wanted to give a quick update and mostly thanks all around to an incredible team effort that's happening. This has been months in the process of really engaging with every single person who has needed housing and treatment and shelter to understand their individual needs and to have lots and lots of conversations about what the right next step would be as the city works to make sure that everyone is safe and doesn't have to live out on the street, especially with the winter coming. As you can see, even down the street, the progress in terms of people who have already moved into their placements and ongoing moves and transportation and storage has been going really smoothly. And all of our city staff on the ground, from Tanya's team on the coordinated response side to the public health folks, housing, police, and all of our community partners have been checking in real time as we go to update the numbers, to troubleshoot any individual situations. We are, as a city, dealing with a challenge that cities across the country are facing when so many of our systems leave people falling through the gaps. And this overlapping set of crises around mental health and homelessness and substance use isn't one that can be fixed overnight anywhere, but we are seeing some real progress in Boston, having built up an infrastructure for low-threshold housing with medical supports and treatment, and now the outreach to be able to connect people directly there and work so that each individual is matched with their specific needs. It has been a long-standing challenge in the city of Boston. I will just reflect that for me, this is an issue that we are never going to give up on, because we also know that, relatively speaking, it is a manageable one to make sure that we can be a place where individuals get what they need and we can demonstrate what's possible by coordinating services. Every single major city in the country has to do a census of unsheltered individuals each year, and they send that information up to the federal government and up to HUD, just so that the national numbers are all in one place. Last year, the city of Boston census counted that there were 119 unsheltered individuals who were living on the street. Each one of those people on that night offered services, as they always are. But just as a comparison point, for example, the city of Los Angeles had nearly 25,000 people in their unsheltered individuals count. So we see this as a community of people who we are determined to ensure are moving forward with their recovery journey, and also contributing to the community and plugging back into the families they love, the neighborhoods they grew up in, and this city that they want to be a part of and are eagerly working to contribute to as well. So we're making great progress. It's been all hands on deck and everyone working together really closely. So most of all, I'm just incredibly grateful to our entire team and all of our partners on the ground who have been planning this and are now moving this forward. We are, as you can see, tents continue to come down when individuals are moving into their placements and packing up their belongings and then accessing that transportation. Once the last tent does come down, we will make sure that the street is cleaned and that there's some more of those services, just to kind of ensure that this area is how it should be, but that won't be the end of our efforts by any means. This is really a citywide effort to ensure that as we move to get people out of tense and dangerous situations and into housing and shelter, that we are going to have our mobile outreach teams moving citywide to provide the safety and support in any neighborhood of Boston that needs it. Several of these mobile response teams are already assigned to different areas slightly outside the Massancast area, just in the coming days, to be on hand and directly available. But this effort will be sustained, and even though we know it will not be fixed overnight, I feel very grateful and confident that the coordination that we've seen is unlike ever before in the city, and the infrastructure that's been built up that we can tap into is also at a different place than we've ever been before. So we need to continue working statewide and regionally and beyond to address this, as we know many folks are coming to Boston because we have services here that have been set up, but we are going to continue showing what can happen when you treat each individual person as a human being and really work to try to provide the supports and resources that are necessary. And I want to just hand it over to our incredible director of the coordinated response team, Tanya Del Rio, for her update as well.
Hi, good morning. I'm going to keep it brief. What I want to do is provide the latest numbers that we have. They are as of this morning. Teams have been working really hard throughout the week to provide those individual placements that are going to hopefully work in the longer term for people. So I'm going to share with you how many people have moved into that type of placement, how many are working on it. So as of yesterday, we had 52 people that completed their physical move to their placement, whether that be a family reunification, a shelter placement, a low threshold sites. There's a variety of destinations that people chose for themselves. 52 people have completed those moves. 25 more have accepted the offer that we've provided to them and are in the process of packing up, sorting out the storage. There's a lot of miscellaneous needs that people need to fulfill before they complete that placement. We will be providing storage, transportation, or whatever it is else that people need, whether it be basic needs or whatever it is. People do have a variety of things that we're helping them with. We've also completed 9 friends, family, or housing reunifications. And yesterday, the triage team identified 7 people that will be provided a placement assignment today. Teams right now, what you're seeing, outreach workers are back out re-triaging whoever's present in the encampment at this point, making sure that they're provided a shelter or a destination before we close the street and we close the encampment today. As you know, the ordinance provided a 7-day buffer. So the city and all of our partners have been using that 7-day buffer to provide that outreach, to provide those placements before any enforcement begin. And our goal is to complete that and make sure that anyone that wants to get to a placement before today can do that. So that's what we're hard at work doing. We are updating those numbers a couple of times a day. The teams will be back in the engagement center, relaying back what the results of their morning outreach, the results of their triage at 12 p.m. and they'll be going back out and reoffering for anyone that needs any more. Any questions on the numbers? Let me add one more thing. Sorry. We started in the last weeks before this week, we've been hovering around 50 to 55 structures, encampments, tents, fortified structures. At this point, our latest count as of this morning is 14. So we've made great progress. I wanted to share that as well.
So Atkinson Street is expected to be closed this afternoon, right? Like, what does that look like? And I guess for those who may still be remaining, what happens at that stage?
Right. So our hope is that by the time the street is clear, we'll be able to provide sanitation. As you know, there's debris to be collected, and there's just a lot of sanitation that needs to be provided. So we'll have this afternoon our public works crew come in and provide that sanitation. After that, the outreach teams that have been in the last year stationed on Atkinson Street are going to reformat into mobile teams that are going to be providing outreach and making those shelter storage offers throughout the whole city.
The 50 to 55 tents, was that as of yesterday, or when was that compared to the 14?
As of this morning, we have 14.
Yes. And then
We started off on Monday with 50 plus. Yeah, and that's kind of the number we've been hovering at for the last weeks.
How many people are there right now that either would not accept the placement or you're still
We've
there?
had nobody decline an offering so far. We've had people who tell us that the initial offer is maybe not the best fit, whatever. So we work with them to figure out what a better offering might be. So we've done a lot of that. We haven't had anyone full out decline yet. We are working with folks currently that have held out until today, so I'll have maybe more to say later.
Do you know, though, how many people that you estimate that you're still looking for placements for?
So we identified 7 yesterday. We're re-triaging today to see if that number has changed. There is a lot of in and out flow of people every day, so that happens all the time. So that's why we are re-triaging, making sure the people that we identified yesterday are the same, and if there's other people, just to work with them as well. Yeah.
What happens to folks if they're here after 4 p.m. today? Because I understand part of the enforcement is arrest. It's in the language of the enforcement, but if people are still here, as you said, this was the sort of deadline
Here, as in anywhere across the city, the laws will be enforced. We saw in January of 2022 when there was a similar, much larger scale housing surge and clearing of unneeded encampments and materials. At that point, there were no arrests and there were no interactions that required escalating to anything like that. And so far, even as this has been happening since late last week, every conversation has been going very smoothly, and if anything, it's been just a feeling that we're able to move together as a community into a new phase and a new set of just a new step for the city. I will just share also, I'd gotten an update from our public works teams earlier today, just a demonstration, because sometimes the view from someone who's just driving by the area might be that, is the city doing the same thing over and over again? You know, tents might be removed and then they pop up again, and then they're removed and pop up again. In January of 2022, when it was the first time that Boston had really done a major housing surge, placements, and then clearing of the unneeded encampments, there were 44 tons of debris and materials collected in that. Much of that was people had been living on wood pallets and large structures and propane tanks, because it had been years of folks staying every single night at Mass and Cass and on Atkinson Street. 44 tons collected. Yesterday it was about 2 tons of materials, and they expect today will be no more than another 3. So just that's the scale of where we are today versus where we were almost 2 years ago, in the progress that's been made, the infrastructure that's been set up, and the conversations where people are directly connecting with the city about what their needs are and how those needs can best be met.
The gift cards, how many gift cards have been handed out so far, and who's funding those? It's Newmarket, right?
Yeah, we have a couple of different sources for gift cards: Boston Public Health Commission and Newmarket. Yeah, Boston Public Health Commission and Newmarket. I don't want to disclose the number at this time, just because we're still on it.
Okay, is there a budget, though, for the amount of money that's, like, where's the financial source?
Boston Public Health Commission provided some. They always have some available for this kind of use, and Newmarket provided some as well. Yeah.
And just a little detail, and I'm sure Tanya and the team could share a lot more, but for example, was it Monday that was raining all day? Yeah, so everything was wet on Monday, people's clothes and blankets and materials, and so in those conversations it became very clear that as folks were contemplating moving to a placement that made sense for them, they also didn't want to pack up wet things into storage permanently that would end up getting moldy or ruined anyway. And so this was one way to be able to help people land back on their feet and complete that move and maybe get some of the clothing replaced and some other needs that they had as they were moving into their new space.
Just in relation to the numbers, you talked about 44,000 tons when you first started to clear the area, and now
44 tons.
I'm sorry?
44 tons.
44 tons. I'm sorry, you're right. I apologize. Do you know how many people were out here at that time? I mean, now you're down to about 100, a little bit below 100 who have accepted placements, etc. How many were here at that time?
Yeah. The initial survey and list that was made in December of 2021, in the very first week of December, that was 147 people. By the time we got to closer to the move on January 12th, it was closer to 170 or 180 people. And that's when the city had created nearly 200 units of low threshold individualized housing with medical supports. And so we are at the crowd size in terms of over the summer here was probably hovering in the range of anywhere between 150 and 200 people. But as our teams know, because they're on the ground every single day, many folks had housing, and it was a very different situation than before.
Can you just update on the number of transitional housing units that have been replaced since January, just so I know that I heard?
Yeah, we can follow up with the exact numbers, but of the almost 200 units that were created, some 60 or some transitioned out because the roundhouse was meant to be a temporary spot to kind of absorb the overflow and disruption from the January 2022 housing surge. Those have come down, but each of the residents there had been connected to and has identified already where they were, and it's been all in the same ecosystem of supports. And then in addition, 30 more temporary low threshold beds were created at 727 Mass Ave to help absorb and manage the disruption of this transition now, in addition to some other low threshold placements at our shelter placements with our shelter providers. There were over 100 beds total that were created with the expansion of that to help provide for this move.
What role will mobile units play going forward, and how is that an indefinite role? How long are we expected to see those in the city?
The mobile teams are going to be coordinated, and that's their new, I guess, permanent function. Yeah, they're going to be providing coverage citywide and making sure that we're following the steps that we need to comply with the ordinance citywide.
And is that just health commission members, or also?
Yeah.
Has the command center been set up yet?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Will the engagement center become the command center, or do you know where the police command center?
Oh, it is, yeah.
They're gonna set up a mobile unit today, sometime today.
Yeah, and we have been working. Everyone has been working out of the engagement center already. There's stations inside for storage. There's stations for transportation, for housing placements, and so there's the whole team and all of the outreach workers are coordinated. And when it's a kind of seamless process of when someone accepts their placement, where they are on the list, and then coordinating with each of the teams that are set up to support inside. So everyone is on the same page, and then there are multiple times a day briefings and huddles that happen across all of the teams, including public health, housing, outreach, community partners, and police, to just keep tweaking whatever needs to be adjusted in some of the policies. Even yesterday morning, there were some changes from the day before that went into place and that have helped support today as well.
Last question.
So as of 4 o'clock today, the street will.
Okay.
So as of 4 o'clock today. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
So at 4 o'clock today, the street will be cleared of all the tents and all the structures.
I don't. There's not a time where if something isn't totally wrapped up, then everything's going to get knocked down. Our plan is to complete the moves that are scheduled, and we anticipate that by this afternoon some of the street cleaning that usually happens might be able to happen on its as it usually does, but it will happen whenever the structures are down, because people have moved into where they needed to go.
And this is the end of the encampment.
Yeah, I mean, again, I want to just caution in that it's not. This is a challenge, a series of challenges, all overlapping, that no city is able to just say, okay, we're done and moving on. It will take a tremendous amount of sustained effort. It will take continued outreach and adjusting our own processes and staffing and programs along the way. We have been committed since November of 2021 to trying to show that a different way is possible than people living on the street and really taking their lives putting their lives at great risk with the temperatures and other activities that are happening around. We've made progress at every phase, and today will be hopefully the next step that we're taking, a big one for the city, but it will take sustained effort, and we will expect to see other tents pop up in different parts of the city that we will look to connect people as quickly as possible and then take down those tents. But there is no magic wand to being able to say now the city's in a bubble and we've moved on. We are going to keep at it, and it's going to be a real citywide effort.
Thanks, everyone.
And then maybe if we could just stay, I want to make sure we do some of this in Español for... Okay.
The numbers?
¿Quieren hacerlo separado?
Sí,
Okay.
All right.
O...